Hello everyone and welcome back guys to round 14 of Season 2 of our F1 2020 My Team Career Mode, where today we're here back for my favourite track on the Formula 1 calendar. Yes, we head back to the Belgian Grand Prix this weekend. Obviously the summer break has been all done and dusted. You can see performance-wise, we're pretty much even now with Mercedes. We've got a good jump back towards Ferrari and Red Bull, and then obviously the rest of the midfield teams there, as everyone seems to have started to bunch back up just a little bit more there, with obviously Williams still at the rear of the field. We've had another couple of upgrades come through on the car. We've got the barge boards upgrades now all sorted, and then we also had another chassis upgrade come through as well. I think it was the fuel tank positioning, which has now given us the best chassis in Formula 1. Aero-wise, we've got the best aero in Formula 1 as well. Power-wise, we're still a little bit further back at the moment, but we're trying to get another couple of factory upgrades on as well to obviously be able to get some more upgrades on that department. But big news coming into this weekend. My suspicions were correct from the British Grand Prix a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, if you missed out on that video, I would definitely recommend going back and checking it out. Sebastian Vettel has confirmed that he will be retiring from Formula 1 at the end of the year here. So a space is opening up at Ferrari. That could either bring some crazy moves heading into Season 3, or we just see Charles Leclerc go back there and join Max Verstappen in what might be the most exciting young dream team F1 has seen in recent years. But anyway, yeah, a lot of exciting stuff going on in the near future then, but we are still in a title battle at the moment. We're looking to see if we can take a few points out of Bottas over the next couple of weeks, as well as the fact we're only 11 points behind Ferrari in the Constructors' Championship. There is a lot to play for here. Let's dive into it. Coming towards the end of the tyre wear evaluation test, we're going to beat the Delta by near enough 3 seconds at the end of this. I've never seen anything quite like that in this series so far, but we're doing alright this practice session. Like I've mentioned recently, obviously we just need to try and keep getting as many points as possible. Coming towards the end of our qualifying simulation lap, every other practice program we've done so far, we've been able to beat by in the ballpark of about 2 seconds. But never have I been this far up on one of our qualifying sim runs. We just seem to have so much straight line speed in the car this weekend. We're going to smash it by over a second in the end, a 1:42.2. There's probably a 1 minute 40 in it in quali trim. So free practice done and dusted then, and it's going to be over 1,000 R&D points when all is said and done. Going to take us back up to nearly 1,200 points. So we should be able to get another minor aero upgrade on the car. We're almost at Team Acclaim level 17 as well. Now George is finally getting into the swing of things. So just to confirm then, we can get another aero upgrade on the car. This time round, we're going to go with the DRS activation mechanism, which should redesign with a focus on streamlining the housing pod as much as possible without any compromise to the effectiveness or reliability. So that should be done after the Italian Grand Prix, ready for Singapore. But yeah, we are just really starting to run out of upgrades we've got left on the car. Across all 4 departments, we've got 4, 5, and then 6, 7, 8, 9 more upgrades that we can do before we need a level 3 facilities. So we're definitely going to need that end of year cash, obviously boost that we get. So we need P2 in the Constructors' Championship. Let's dive into qualifying then. I would say we'll jump probably into Q2, but it has been a bit ropey over the last couple of weeks, so we'll wait and see. So, based on the instant banker that we've seen Max Verstappen do, there might be the potential for someone to get a sub 100 seconds around this Belgian Grand Prix circuit this weekend. We've gone out in Q1 on a set of the mediums as we get a lot of wheel spin off the first corner. Just, you know, sort of our first lap. If we get through, we get through. If not, then we don't need to worry all too much. Obviously, we've got plenty of soft compound tyres to get us through into the second qualifying session. But the top end speed on this thing now is just absolutely monstrous. 211 miles an hour as we head towards the end of the Kemmel Straight. This thing, it's got power, certainly. There we go, Sebastian Vettel on 1 minute 40.093, so I'll be very surprised if we don't see Mercedes sub 100 seconds around this track. In towards the final chicane we go, though. Let's see what we can do on our mediums. Made a bit of a mistake on the lap. A lot of wheel spin out of the final corner. It's going to be a 41.8. Yeah, nowhere near good enough. Into the final couple of corners then for our first run on the soft compound of tyres. Let's just see if we can keep it nice and tidy through the final chicane. Try and roll on the power nicely on the exit. We're going to be about a second up. That's going to put us into P5, roughly where we should be. Definitely still a lot more time to find on the lap, however. So, Q1 done and dusted then. It was actually Sebastian Vettel who went quickest on that 1:40.0 there. Our teammate George Russell, as always, now on the money in P2, with Bottas struggling a bit down in 8th place there. Not too sure what that was all about for the Mercedes driver. But yeah, we need to be trying to outscore Bottas in the next few races if possible. It just seems every week at the moment he's taking 3 points away from us here, 5 points there, and it's just really, really adding up at the moment if we want to be in the title fight. But we've got through into Q2 nice and safely. The cars, however, that haven't, both Williams, both Haas, Stroll, rather surprisingly, and Albon. Once again, this track doesn't really suit Red Bull all too well. I mean, Ricciardo's only 2 tenths quicker than Albon, and he's up in 9th. That's just how tightly bunched it is in the midfield still. Going out for our Q2 run, we're going to see if we can sneak through into Q3 on just the one set to allow us 2 runs in the final stages of qualifying. I've also just noticed just how tight we're running this thing on fuel. We start the lap with just 1.2 laps spare. That might be a bit difficult to get to the end, but anyway, let's just see if we can hook up a lap. Well, coming towards the end then of our first Q2 run, hopefully our only Q2 run as well, I must add. It's felt a lot more tidy than our lap in Q1. Let's just see if we can keep it nice and tidy through the final couple of corners. The Renault gets out of the way, thank you very much. At the final corner, trying to put the power down, it's going to be a 1:40.6. 3 tenths off Verstappen. But Hamilton, Bottas and Vettel are on a set of the mediums here, so clearly they're trying some alternate strats. There we go then, into Q3, nice and cleanly there. Both Mercedes, Vettel and our teammate George Russell able to get by into the third and final qualifying session on a set of the medium compounded tyres there. So a fantastic job done by those guys. I personally, yeah, wasn't willing to take the risk this time out. We possibly could have got close had we hooked a lap up, but yeah, really just not worth it for ourselves. Charles Leclerc, Esteban Ocon, Ricciardo and Norris joined both Mercedes, both Ferraris and both 212 Motorsport cars. Let's dive in then. We've got 2 shots at this here in Q3. Here we go then, ready for our first Q3 run. I don't really think Mercedes have shown us what they're capable of just yet. Hamilton on a 1:40.3, however. So maybe I'm about to swallow my words and see Bottas or Hamilton get a 39.9. Let's just see. I feel like we could probably get close to the time Hamilton set, but we do need to absolutely hook this lap up. Just maximum attack, maximum bravery around this legendary Spa-Francorchamps circuit. It just, I mean, it always feels incredible. It just goes to show how great a track is when it feels incredible in basically every car I've ever driven around this place. But in this 2020 car, it is absolutely insane just how late you can get on the brakes, how much corner speed you can carry in some places is just mind-boggling as we head towards the end of the Kemmel Straight. Try and get the power down off the exit. Nice and tightly done that time round. Into the hairpin. Just trying to keep close to that curb on the inside. Don't want to get too much unnecessary wheel spin. Take a lot of curb through No Name there. As now we head down into Pouon. Well, you just tap the brake, bring it back down into 7th gear for the extra rotation through. And down on the exit, you're going over 200 miles an hour under the Aramco sign in towards the Fagnes chicane. Taking so much curb through there as well, but the back end will not step out at the moment. In through Stavelone. Just using up all of the curbing as much as possible. There we go, Bottas. A 39.8. That is absolutely insane from the Mercedes car. 7 kilometers in under 100 seconds. It's just ridiculous how quick these cars are at the moment. Well, we got 1 more corner, well, 2 more corners, I should say, to try and navigate. Let's just try and keep it nice and tidy through the first part. On the exit of the second, to avoid the wheel spin up towards the line. It's going to be a 1:40.602. Quicker than our teammate George, but there's definitely a little bit more on the table. We get 1 more shot. Let's not waste it. Here we go then, ready for our final lap around this Belgian Grand Prix circuit in qualifying. Can we find just a little bit more in the cars. We've got, I think that's actually our teammate right behind us. We probably should have gone out of the way of him just a little bit more, but he does go quicker than Charles Leclerc, so he's now nestled in right behind us once more. A bit of a snag break through turn 1. Way too much curbing on the exit. Luckily, somehow, it hasn't cost us all too much as we head back down into a rouge, trying to scrub off as little speed as possible through there. We haven't had the best run again as we head up the Camel Straight. Let's just see if we can nail Sector 2 and hopefully rein back in this little bit of time that we've managed to lose in the first sector. I must admit, our last lap felt pretty damn hooked up. I'll be honest, I don't think there was going to be all too much more we can find, but we do go back into the green through there, just trying to keep it tidy through the hairpin once again. Bring it back over to the right-hand side, using up way too much curb on the exit. The FIA not too happy with that. We do get a warning for it, understandably so. Way too much curb through Pouhon, and we had to be committed, and we had to be brave, and we've luckily kept it out of the walls. That was rather scary though, I'll be honest. The car completely dropping on us at 170 miles an hour there. We will have to let everyone else by, but that is qualifying done and dusted for ourselves. We got 2 Mercedes flying past us, or one of the Ferraris as well. We'll just enjoy the view from here, I suppose, and another one. So there we are then, the end of qualifying. It was Bottas the only man to get into the 39s in Q3. There are 1:39.8, like I said, is just insane to think how quick that is around this circuit. He edges out Hamilton by 1/4 of a second in the end. Both Ferraris on row 2, both 212 Motorsport cars on the 3rd row, just 33 thousandths of a second separated us in the end, with Charles Leclerc, Ocon, Ricciardo and Norris rounding out the top 10. A decent little qualifying session there for ourselves. Definitely a little bit more time on the cards, but I don't really feel, unless we got it completely flawlessly, we would have been able to get any higher on the grid. But race pace normally is in a bit more of our favour. Let's see what we can do here at the Belgian Grand Prix.
We're in Belgium once again for today's round of the Formula 1 World Championship. It's a race the great Ayrton Senna won 6 times, and in 2019, Charles Leclerc became the first driver to take their maiden win here since Michael Schumacher in 1992. So here we are once again, ready to go racing through the Ardennes Forest. 4.35 miles of long straights, fast corners, and massive elevation changes. It makes this not only one of the most exciting circuits on the calendar, but one that makes for some consistently high-quality racing as well. Simply put it, there really is no place quite like Spa. Anthony Davidson is alongside me as usual for the race today. Let's talk about Mr. Monaco. What do you make of their performance so far this season?
It's been a really solid year so far. There have been some incredible standout performances, but what's really impressed me has been the consistency. With this kind of form, I'm expecting another great race today.
Before we begin, let's take a quick look at the grid lineup for today's race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, with Sebastian Vettel starting alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Mr. Monaco, George Russell and Leclerc, Ocon, Ricciardo, Norris and Pierre Gasly, Bottas, Raikkonen, Carlos Sainz and Perez, Kvyat, Matsushita, Lance Stroll and Kevin Magnussen, De Vries, King, Latifi and Alexander Albon picks up the last spot on the grid. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
Jeff here, radio check. Check, check, can you hear me? Okay, we had a fantastic result at the last race. Let's try it again here.
Finally, Jeff is no longer talking about just trying to get top 10 finishes. It is a beautiful sight to behold on F1 2020. But here we are then, on the grid for the Belgian Grand Prix. Bottas starting behind us now. Was quite surprised I didn't mention that in the pre-race build-up. But yeah, Bottas now with a 10-place grid drop finds himself P11 on the grid for the start of this race. So we've got a golden opportunity to try and take some points out of our main championship rival here. But Crofty and Ant, they're saying good things about us. We've had a very good season so far. I would completely agree. But hopefully today we can make it one step better. Starting from P4, we're going to need a good job on lap 1. We need to get down through our Rouges and up through Radillon nice and tidily, get a big slingshot and see if we can move past either of the Ferraris or Lewis Hamilton at the front of the field here. 22 laps ahead of us. We're going to put 23 laps worth of fuel in the car, just so we can push if needed. Let's have a look. Strategy race is meant to be nice and dry for once. I've had a couple of changeable condition races in the last few, so hopefully Spa, it springs up some surprises, so we'll wait and see about that. But soft hards is the strategy we're going to be aiming for here today. Let's dive right into it. Round 14 of the season here from the Belgian Grand Prix. We need a good start if we want to take points out of our title rival. 5 red lights, and it is lights out, and away we go. Verstappen not getting off all too well. Obviously, both guys on the front row on a set of the mediums as we head through the first corner. Verstappen gets pinched on the inside. We might be able to get a run on Sebastian as well now as we head down in towards Eau Rouge. I think Sebastian in that Ferrari is just going to be able to get out in front of us, as Hamilton has already bolted off the start of this Grand Prix. Obviously having a lift through Eau Rouge hasn't helped us out. We got yellow flags out as someone's already gone, and we've got a virtual safety car pretty much instantly. It appears one of the Haas has dropped it. Magnussen out of the race already. What has happened to him? Here we go then, riding board with K-Mag. He just gets loose through Eau Rouge on lap 1. And I've never seen anything like that on the F1 games there. Just completely drops it by himself. Well, fresh tyres? I don't know if obviously... Well, no, he's done it before, hasn't he? Around the Belgian Grand Prix circuit. Back in 2016, he dropped it for Renault. I think that was on the second lap, however. So, Eau Rouge, clearly not a good place for Magnussen. Anyway, virtual safety car still out. Let's get ready to go racing once again. So, VSC is coming to an end right about now. However, I've just noticed we've got a fault on the rear wing as Verstappen tries to have a look around the outside. Luckily, obviously, DRS hasn't been enabled just yet at any point, but that is really not going to help us out around this circuit. Obviously, DRS vitally important in Formula 1 anyway, as Verstappen is just getting really, really feisty with us towards the end of lap 1 here. But yeah, we need to try and get this sorted nice and quickly here. The team haven't come over the radio saying anything.
Offline, there's a fault with the rear wing system. Stay out, we can work on a fix remotely.
There you go. So as soon as I say that, obviously Jeff, as always, making us look nice and silly. But a lot already kicked off then on the opening lap of this race. We've already had our first retirement. We've got mechanical faults, I think, for the first time in this entire series, as we've got more yellow flags out in Sector 3. Is anything else kicked off? It wouldn't surprise me. Spa likes to spring some surprises, and today appears to be no different. Already a couple of cars into the pits. That appears to be both McLarens, so no idea what's happened to them. It's now obviously been enabled in this race, however, not for ourselves. Gonna have to try and get past Sebastian Vettel the good old-fashioned way here, and I've always been one, whenever I've seen people saying that DRS ruins Formula 1, I've always been one to talk against it. Maybe today you guys will learn why, because I think DRS is a wonderful invention for Formula 1, otherwise you just get races like this, where we're stuck behind a car in front of us, and we can't do anything about it, because dirty air. Coming down in towards Blanchemont, we are gaining a fair bit of time on Sebastian Vettel, but we might be close enough to go for a bit of a send now. We'll think better of it this time round, but we do desperately need that DRS back here. It is worth so much time around this circuit at the final corner. Hamilton just building up a little bit of a margin at the moment, but we need to be quicker than these guys, because remember, they're on harder tyres. So, down through La Source, a lot of wheel spin on the exit. We might have to try and use as much ERS as possible here if we want to try and get the run on Sebastian, despite being in the dirty air. Very, very easy flat through Eau Rouge still, as well, as we head now onto the Camel Straight. Yeah, the Ferrari really doesn't quite have enough top-end speed to the inside without the DRS. We should be able to get around Sebastian Vettel, obviously retiring now at the end of this year, and we're up into P2 as Bottas already making good progress, up into 5th. We're just trying to get Vettel out of the DRS at the moment, and him fighting with Verstappen is certainly going to help us out. We are going to be diving in quite soon on to the set of the hards. We might try and see if we can get a bit of an undercut on Lewis Hamilton. We're pretty even on the pace with the Mercedes man. However, we are using a lot of ERS at the moment. Our DRS, though, as well, is now back online as soon as we don't need it, of course, as is always the way with F1. But we have got some wear on the control electronics, so we might have to start avoiding curbs towards the end of this race. Coming towards the end of lap 5, we are going to dive it in at the end of this one. Just worried that the tyres are going to start losing a little bit over the next couple of laps. So into the pits we come. Make sure we get it slowed down nice and tidily. Into the pit lane Hopefully, obviously, as well, it should give our teammate a little bit of a chance, as he's already... Where is he? Is he down the order? He's down in, like, 9th place. What's happened, George? Come on. Get on with it. You won last time out. We need more good results like that from you. Hopefully, we won't come out in too much dirty air. But shouldn't be the most difficult track to overtake at. 3-second stop, though. Isn't the best in the world. At the pit lane we come. We're going to come out just behind the Freeze, but ahead of the Williams, more importantly. Coming then on to lap 7, we're pretty much already at a third race distance of this Grand Prix. We're getting a good run through Rouge. I think for the first time all day, we can use the DRS now. Normally it doesn't take us 7 laps to be able to activate it, but that's the way it goes sometimes. De Vries goes defensive. Once again, not really sure there's going to be much he can do, and once again, just like last time, we mug him off. Up into 15th once more. Let's see if we can close down the gap to the next big cluster. Few cars starting to dive into the pits then, so we're going to be back up in towards about P12 of this race. Verstappen has come in, so good to see we're still ahead of the Ferrari man. I think we've actually taken a little bit of time out of him as well. The gap's going to be about 3 seconds by the end of the Kemmel Straight, so maybe we can be a little bit closer to Hamilton if possible. Matsushita, Kvyat and Stroll all in a bit of a battle at the moment is not what we need, as Matsushita seems to be a little bit all over the shop as we head down the hill. Yeah, really not ideal for ourselves. Watching these guys battle out between them. We need to try and get around them as quickly as possible here as we head down in towards the Fagnes chicane. Hopefully, we can just keep it tidy, keep it clean, and then maybe get a run on Stroll up towards Blanchimont. Let's just wait and see. Try and get the power down, a little bit understeery. Make sure we get as good a run as we can off the exit there. Obviously, the Racing Point, another very, very quick car down the straight, so he's probably going to be taking a little bit of time out of Matsushita. We're all sort of closing in on each other as Bottas new fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Stroll looking to the outside of Matsushita. This is not what we need as they come in towards the pit lane here. They're both going to stay out, though, for another lap. Maybe we can try and get the power down around the outside of Lance Stroll. We've run out of ERS as we cross the start-finish line, but we might have to just dive Matsushita in towards one. He turns in on us, but a firm, but I think fair move. In the end, we had to send it. We've sent it, and we're up into 7th. We got yellow flags out as we come towards the end of lap 9. Raikkonen out of the Grand Prix. Are we going to see a safety car because of that? It would really help out the top 3 runners, but yeah, would kind of screw us in this race. No, it doesn't appear like we are, as more cars into the pits. Russell now has been allowed up into 4th place at last, but he's a good 12 seconds behind the cars that he probably should be battling. There we go. George is the first then of the medium runners into the pits at the end of lap 10, pretty much now at the halfway stage of this race. We need to try and take some time out of the top 3, however, just to see if we're there or thereabouts in terms of the bigger picture. They will have fresher tyres towards the end, but we've still got a long way to go. I can see now on the timing graphic, Bottas and Vettel are starting to have a bit of a battle here in this race, so that should hopefully bring us a little bit closer to the pair of them. It is, however, letting Hamilton just get a bit of a breakaway at the moment, and I genuinely can't remember the last race Hamilton won in this series. I think I'm missing one glaringly obvious one from recent weeks, but I don't think he's won a single race since, like, Bahrain? He might have won, no, I think he won China after that as well, but he really just hasn't had the rub of the green in the first half of this season. But it was the same story last year, and he still was able to pick up the world title when all was said and done, so we'll wait and see. Finally, Hamilton and Vettel are going to dive it into the pits at the end of lap 13. I really have no idea just how long they were planning on going in this Grand Prix. I don't think they'll be able to get softs to the flag, or if they are, I'd be very, very impressed. They're going for it. Hamilton and Vettel onto a set of these soft compounded tyres here. How have we been able to get the undercut on the pair of them? We should have been able to, looking at it. We might be close to Hamilton. There is the Mercedes, but we will get round him and up into, effectively, the net lead of this Grand Prix. However, Hamilton is probably going to get a run on us up the Kemmel Straight here. Obviously, our tyres are up to temperature, but still, look at the grip the Mercedes has got through Eau Rouge and Raidillon here. Hamilton to the outside, we're going to have to defend from him. as best as possible, but we're not really going to have much to do it with. And yeah, Hamilton right around the outside, much later on the brakes there. I'm sure, like we used to see at the start of the season, we've got a good chance at a race win, and then Hamilton just sneaks past us and goes on to dominate at the end of the day. We've got 3 seconds over Vettel behind us. I can't imagine we're going to be able to hold on to that for all too long as well. There we go, end of lap 14. Bottas is into the pits as well here. He's obviously the main person that we want to try and beat in this Grand Prix. If we can't beat him starting, what, 7 places ahead of him, without any safety car intervention or things like that, I really don't think we got much chance of a world title this year. But the engine is really starting to get worn out as well. This has been the first time all game, really, all series, that we've had so many issues with reliability. But yeah, Verstappen is going to be, sorry, Vettel even I should say, sorry, back out in P3. Bottas 3 seconds back in 4th though again. I can't imagine it's going to be too long before we're under some big pressure here. Hamilton a 1:42.9, new fastest lap of the Grand Prix. We're over a second slower than these guys at the moment on these tyres, so clearly the soft-medium strategy has worked out for the top runners here. I don't think George is going to quite be able to capitalise on it the way the others have, but we're just trying to keep Seb as far back for as long as possible in this race. See if we can try and get him to sort of lap 19, lap 20, then we might have a bit of a chance. However, now he's in DRS. Now he's going to be gaining rather quickly. Coming on to lap 19, just 4 laps to go here from Spa-Francorchamps. We've now got Bottas up into P3. He was able to get round Sebastian Vettel up the Camel Straight last time round. So now we really need to try and defend for all our worth at the moment. Like I said at the beginning, so many races recently, Bottas has just taken 3 points out of us, 6 points out of us, 5 points out of us, just week in, week out. And now we can't afford to let it keep happening here at the Belgian Grand Prix. Down through turn 1, he is probably going to be able to get a bit of a run on us as we try to not get any wheel spin on the exit of the corner. Will we have enough to defend with as we head up through Eau Rouge and Raidillon, try and get back on the ERS as soon as possible? Bottas, though, he's already got the run on us. Just look how insanely quick that Mercedes is. Gonna have to go defensive on him. We're gonna have to be brave on the brakes as well, using all of our ERS. Try and keep the nose there. He does give us the room. Gonna have to be really aggressive with him, and we've done it for another lap. We've defended for now from Valtteri Bottas as we head down into the hairpin. He's going to try and look around the outside, but we're just going to quietly try and squeeze him out. A lot of contact, actually. Saying that, he keeps the nose there. Bottas is on another level at the moment. He's going to be able to get the run down in towards Pouon. We'll try and hang it around the outside, and we just hold on in the end. Didn't want to go side by side through Pouon, I'll be honest, but this is getting rather feisty. 2 laps to go then here from the Belgian Grand Prix. We're just trying to hang on for as much as possible here. New PB in this race, braking just at the 100-metre board, trying to get it hooked up. No wheel spin, nice, cool, calm and collected at the moment is what we're going for. Hoping, praying that we can stay ahead of Valtteri Bottas as we head through Eau Rouge for the penultimate time in this race. We've got a little bit of a gap, I think, for another lap. We are just about going to be safe at the moment. In the perfect world, Seb will give him a bit of a run for his money. But Sebastian, clearly not interested in playing those games at the moment. Much more worried about trying to defend Ferrari's title lead over us in the Constructors. That's another thing we've got to think about. As much as we want to take points out of Bottas, we need the prize money ready for Season 3, where hopefully then we can mount a real challenge. Coming on to the final lap then of this Grand Prix, Hamilton a 42.1. How insane is that on race trim that we're only 2 seconds off where we were in qualifying? But we got one more lap to try and hold on ahead of Bottas here in what will probably be one of my best defensive drives we've ever had in this series. But these are the sort of drives and performances that we need to be getting at the moment. Got a little bit of safety as we head up through Eau Rouge. Got a tiny bit of spare fuel. We've got next to no ERS though to defend ourselves from the Mercedes behind. I'm sure he's going to be throwing absolutely everything at it as well. But the top end speed that I mentioned all the way back in free practice and qualifying, still coming in clutch at the moment. The only other place we probably now need to be really careful from is down in towards the bus stop. Maybe a dive could come in from Valtteri there. But you can see Hamilton a good 10 seconds up the road. It's very much been a walk in the park for him. I don't know how he would have fared had Bottas not had the grid penalties, but a long overdue win here at the Belgian Grand Prix for the Mercedes, man. We're not too worried about that, though. We're more worried about trying to defend from the flying Finn behind us here as we head in towards the final sector of this Grand Prix. Consistency has been our key so far this year, but now it needs to be consistently ahead of Valtteri Bottas through Stavolo for the final time in this race. The AI don't tend to use too much ERS as we head up in towards the final few corners of the lap, so the gap just opening up ever so slightly. Let off the ERS as we head through Blanchemont. We're going to have 4/10 over Bottas. Surely that is going to be enough. Hamilton's going to come through to win the Belgian Grand Prix, but we are going to come through with a train of much quicker cars behind us for P2 at the end of the day. That is what I'm talking about.
Top job, my friend, top job. I was a bit worried about this one at the start of the weekend, but you've pulled through. Thank you.
So, another fantastic victory for the Silver Arrows. Tell me, Ant, how do you think they were able to deliver such an incredible result today?
I think a large part of the result comes down to temperament. They were able to keep their heads when everyone around them was losing theirs, and that's allowed them to get the best out of the car, to maximise the strategy, and to stay out of trouble.
And I can see the drivers starting to approach the podium for the victory celebrations. A real team victory today. Everybody played their part. Congratulations then to Mercedes, your race winners today. And after this round of the World Championship, here's how things look in the drivers' table. Not the result our points leader wanted, but it certainly makes things interesting going forward. Some amazing talent out on the track today, but Anthony, who would you pick as your driver of the day?
That's got to be the Flying Finn. Wait, how many Flying Fins have we had now? Anyway, I'm talking about Bottas this time. Just great raw speed, and a good job in traffic as well.
Let's move on to the constructors. Mercedes continue to extend their lead. After an event like that, who knows what the sport has in store for us next time? Be sure to join us again as we continue to bring you the latest excitement in Formula One.
So there we are then, the end of the Belgian Grand Prix. And is Hamilton finally picking up a long overdue race victory when all is said and done there? Fastest lap, pole position, well, sort of, and a race victory there. I think he basically led every lap as well in the Grand Prix. Obviously, we got ahead of him for about 4 corners at the end of the day. But yeah, Hamilton, a dominant display in the end. However, like I said, a little bit lucky. Obviously, Bottas's grid pens did make it a lot more interesting right behind him there. We go from 4th to finish 2nd. Bottas from 11th to 3rd. Just goes to show how dialed in he is with that Mercedes at the moment there. Vettel, obviously now in his final few races in Formula 1, still able to hang with one of F1's hot properties, Max Verstappen, in 5th. Charles Leclerc, a fantastic job to still finish 6th at the end of the day, beating out my teammate George Russell. Sergio Perez, Ocon and Gasly rounding out the points finishes there, with both Red Bulls once again missing out. Clearly, you know, those good results we saw might have just been a bit of a flash in the pan for those guys as well there. But no other big surprises at the end of the day. McLaren really struggled after both cars had to pit at the end of lap 1 there. But Raikkonen and Magnussen, the two drivers, not able to make it to the checkered flag. Means championship-wise, now just 35 back from Valtteri Bottas. We're going to hopefully slowly start reeling him in the latter stages of this season. Hamilton jumps himself back up into 3rd after that race victory, now ahead of Max Verstappen once again, and that was the only mover we saw in the standings there. Constructors-wise, though, we take 2 points out of Ferrari. The gap is now down to 9. If we keep doing that between now and the end of the season, we should edge them out by about 11 points when all is said and done. But there we are then, guys, the end of the Belgian Grand Prix. If you did enjoy, do make sure you leave a like. Get yourself subscribed as well for more Formula 1 content. And yeah, we will be back tomorrow where we head to the Temple of Speed and also the track where we took our very first Formula 1 victory for the team. We head to Monza. You guys do not want to miss it. A big thank you to our channel members for making these videos possible. You can be featured in these end clips as well as granted access to some other exclusive perks for just £1 a month by clicking the join button below.